5th of July 1962, Algeria regains its sovereignty at the cost of 1.5 million martyrs. In the wake of independence, the Algerian state had quickly implemented a comprehensive policy in the areas of economic, social, cultural and educational life. Algerian authorities shifted their attention on local development in the post-independence to achieve first and foremost economic progress and social well-being. As shelter is one of the basic building blocks of human existence and social well-being, Algeria tirelessly endeavored to provide it to its people. When we highlight the evolution of Algeria's housing sector, we must recall the tragic and harsh conditions that the Algerian family has been experiencing throughout the period of colonization, especially by creating disadvantaged areas. However, this miserable picture cannot remain ingrained in our memory thanks to the major achievements of Algeria's housing programs and its prospects. Algeria's housing policy has gone through a number of phases. The result of each one has been a diverse urban area, despite all the difficulties and obstacles since the defeat of the French colonial powers. With its determination and persistence, Algeria has initiated a housing policy from 1962 to 1966. After that, the Algerian government has started a new policy, which consisted of 3 schemes.
The first plan of 1967-1969 has known the completion of 13,700 housing units, including 3,000 housing units in the rural area. The next plan, which was from 1970 to 1973, has known the completion of 42,000 housing units, including in rural construction, followed by the third plan of 1974-1979. 174,000 housing units were completed, including 87,000 in rural construction.
Despite the economic crisis in the 80s and the Black Decade in the 90s, Algeria did not give up and stood up once again for its children.
In fact, the housing sector has never ceased to meet the challenges entrusted to it by keeping pace with the country's transformations and through the development schemes that have been designed for it. From the beginning of the 1980s to the mid-1990s, we witnessed the completion of 1,140,000 housing units, including 443,000 units in the rural areas. That is to say, during the 15 years, and despite the crises of these 2 decades, the housing sector was able to accomplish more than 1 million housing units.
And from 1990 until the year 2000, Algeria has put in place another reform policy to revitalize housing. In 1991, the National Agency for Housing Improvement and Development (ADL) was created in 1991 in the form of a public, industrial and commercial establishment under the supervision of the Ministry of Habitat. In addition to its core missions, ADL was charged in 2001 with the delivery of a housing program in the form of a rental sale for citizens with an average income.
The ADL 1, a project that enables sales by rent, was launched in 2001 and was highly approved by citizens. The program that was registered at that time was fully funded by the state treasury, completed and handed over.
In 2013, the ADL was launched again for the second time, as it came a long way when it first launched.
Since the ADL 1 was successful among citizens and the middle-income citizens in particular, the program was launched in its second form, starting from 2013.
حيث بما أن
Since the Adial 1 did not suffice the subcontractors, priority was given to them in the Adial 2 program, and that is what happened indeed.
كانت لهم الأسبقية.
In the same year, the housing sector experienced a remarkable recovery with the launch of new housing programs in various formats, especially public promotion and rental sale. And despite the challenges encountered and the lack of construction materials, 575,000 subcontractors have been able to benefit from housing thanks to the efforts the authorities have put in place.
في سنة 2013 كانت
In the year 2013, registration was via a website that allowed citizens or subcontractors to register, which allowed more than 1 million subscriptions.
حوالي 575 ألف مكتتب.
7 years later, in 2020, an action plan for the housing sector was presented in the Council of Ministers under the presidency of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, which provides the commitment to a new program of 1 million housing units from 2020 to 2024.
بالنسبة للسكن هذا السكن عمره ما يتوقفش، وهذا التزام نلتزم به أمام المواطنة أو المواطن. إلا سياسة السكن ما نحبسهاش، لأن عندها المقاصد نتاعها أكثر من بناء سكن ورحله. دونك البروغرام دو لوجمون في بارتي دو ديفلوبمون هيومان avant d'être un problème social. دونك on ira vers le logement. وراه سخرنا الأراضي وغادي وزارة السكن غادي تعاود تنطلق بالسكنات نتاعها.
On the occasion of the 59th anniversary of independence, 100,000 housing units of different formulas were distributed. 28,000 alone were handed over in the wilaya of Oran, in the biggest distribution of housing units in a single wilaya. 90,000 other units were also distributed on the 67th anniversary of the glorious revolution of November the 1st. In total, 320,000 housing units were distributed across the entire national territory during the year of 2021 as part of the implementation of the program of the President of the Republic for the realization of 1 million housing units under the Quinquennium 2020-2024. In 2022, the Ministry of Housing, Urbanism and the City has put in place a digitization strategy aimed at building a digital empire that is capable of backing the sector in the implementation of its strategic missions.
لم نتماطل وأخذنا كل الإجراءات اللازمة.
We did not procrastinate and took all necessary measures to digitize the enterprise and tried to equate between the commercial department and digitization by using the platform to promote the products of the enterprise, where a platform was open to register either LPP or LPA with transparency and integrity.
بكل شفافية ونزاهة. وعلى سبيل المثال,
For example, with regard to LPP, the 1,200 Sidi Abdullah housing units project and a second project with 1,000 housing units were launched.
مشروع ثاني بسيدي عبد الله.
Also LPP in Oran. For LPA, there were 84 housing units opened in Sidi Yahya, 1,202 residential units were registered with transparency and integrity.
Sustainable Development Goals, Algeria did not miss the importance of growing sustainably. After 60 years of the restoration of national sovereignty, almost all indicators are at a positive level owing to Algeria's reforms in various sectors and the considerable efforts made in favor of the Algerian people to achieve sustainable social development and raise the standards of social life.